ॐ शुक्लाम्बरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Okay, so if all of you remember, last time we were discussing about Vedic literature. We saw the basis of the Vedas, Shrutis, Smritis, Puranas, Itihasas, Agama Shastras and so on. Finally, we delve into Vedic literature. We were to start with Rig Veda. So Vedic texts, we saw that they are apaurushaya, that is, they don't have any creator except Brahma. But that too, apaurushaya vakyam Vedaha, meaning it has just been passed on. It is considered to be the breath of the Lord. It has passed down through oral tradition, through sages, and ultimately it just keeps passing ahead. So that is apaurushaya, meaning Purusha has not been created also by any human being. Now, with regards to the date of the Vedas, they were not created by one person at one particular time. It just keeps passing about generations to generations. So therefore, we cannot consider a particular time period. But yes, there have been some researchers who have done this. Like you have Max Muller, he says 1200 BC. Weber, he says 1500 BC, and you have Dr. Jacobi, Tilak and so on. Now all these dates that are there, just for your information, you can consider. But then how far it has to be, it is true and so on, for that lot of research is still pending. All these scholars, they have done research from their own side and they came to some conclusions. But if you see again, there is a lot of variation between dates, right? So now what should I believe, what should I not believe? In fact, now everything we can consider it to be true. The reason being, a lot of things kept on adding. So basically the Vedas, it's like a compilation. So maybe now all this was considered to be Rig Veda, this is Yajur Veda, this is Sama, this is Atharva. Maybe in the course of time, after 100 years or so, people felt that no, there is some more portion of the Rig Veda that is left out. It is not considered to be a part of Rig Veda. Later on, it was added to Rig Veda. So therefore, again the compilation, the date changed because after 100 years, some more portion was added to it. So therefore, the Vedas were already there, but the compilation that was there, the segregation, the categories of 4 Vedas, for that the time period can be different. Further, let's start looking at the Rig Veda, the first Veda, most ancient text, Sanskrit text, which has a collection of Sanskrit mantras or hymns in it, and it is the first Veda, first piece of Sanskrit literature, and therefore it has attained a lot of importance in Vedic literature. Now when I say Sanskrit literature, you can consider Sanskrit Vedic literature, the first text of Sanskrit Vedic literature, because the first text of Sanskrit literature is referred to the Ramayana. So the first Sanskrit Vedic literature is the Rig Veda. So in the Rig Veda, the hymns or the mantras, they are called as Suktam or Suktas. Now why so? Suktam meaning Shobhanena Uktam, meaning that which is nicely said or that which is very pleasant to listen, that which is presented in a very good way, that is Suktam. So Shobhanena Uktam Suktam. And the mantras that are present there, so that's how you have the Purusha Sukta, then you have so many other Suktas that are familiar, right? Maybe Vishnu Sukta, Narayana Sukta, Brahma Sukta and so on. So it is like a collection of mantras, that is Suktam. And each mantra, that is every line also, that is called a Richa. That is called a Richa in Rig Veda. Richyante Stuyante Yayasa Rik or Richanam Vedaha Saha Rig Vedaha. So what exactly is a Rik? Now Richa, this word has come from the original word Rik, meaning that which is composed, Stuyante, composed and which is to be recited, which is very pleasant to hear, to be recited, that is Rik. And the collection of Richas together, Richanam Vedaha Rig Vedaha, the collection of Richas, the mantras which are called Richas, that is called Rig Vedaha. Now, the Rig Veda is considered to be a period in Vedic literature or in our history to be a very prosperous period. That's the reason you have a lot of stories from the Rig Veda times, Rig Vedic stories or Vedic time stories. So the life there was very prosperous. People did not have, you can say, Like they did not have any shortfall at all, maybe of food, water, amenities, whatever it is. Life was simple, but at the same time it was very prosperous. All the people in the Vedic times were very happy, so they lived a very satisfactory life. And the text, it is like the base for all the three Vedas that are there. So most of the mantras and hymns or the literature that we find in other three Vedas, they all form the basis from the Rig Veda. So basically you get one thing very clear, that though the Vedas we consider them to be religious texts, mantras, hymns and so on, you also, it is like a way of life. It showed about the way of life of the people. That's the reason you say that life of people in the Vedic period was very prosperous, or people lived a very happy and satisfactory, contented life. So it is not only related to religion or maybe spirituality alone, because the mantras that are here in the Rig Veda, if you see, they are not only in praise of some god also, that is there. Moreover, it is in praise of natural elements and natural surroundings that people saw then. Why so? Because till then the concept of idol worship or worshipping different gods had not yet come, because people used to live in natural surroundings. So for them, everything was just what they saw naturally around them. Like I remember from this, just as maybe few people were there yesterday, when we were looking at Vayu Purana reference, you see in that very clearly it has been mentioned that in the Satya Yuga, people did not know about villages, they did not know about cities, they did not know about even habitations at all. What they knew was just natural surroundings. They have mountains, rivers and everything. You just live around there. They did not even know what is wrong. They did not see anything evil. That's the reason they did not have any negative qualities. They used to not fight amongst themselves. Everyone was happy. That is, all the individuals were equal. So therefore, there was no problem of negativity at all. Now in today's times, what is happening is, one person is superior than other. I know 10 things. The person next to me knows 20 things. He feels proud, right? So I know better than you, I know more than you. He feels proud. So therefore, that's where conflict arises. I develop jealousy. Oh, he knows more than me. He feels he is superior, he is more proud because he feels he knows more than me. So this is where problems arise, because all of us are not equal to each other. Whereas in the Satya Yuga or the Krita Yuga as you call, everyone was equal and they were contented, they were satisfied with what they have. Things were also limited. There was no shelter, nothing. People lived about in natural surroundings. So everything was simple. There was no question of you getting more or I getting less and so on. Whereas in the Treta Yuga, slowly what happens, that is during Rama's times, is people started considering trees. Now natural habitats were there. Trees they started considering to be very, very important. Trees were their whole and soul, because that is the first time when they discovered trees. Trees were very much there. It's not that trees weren't there first time they came about, but at that time man started realizing that these trees are very, very helpful, because from trees we can get fruits, we can get honey, we can get wood and so on. And from that point onwards, what they did is they started cutting trees, using the wood for building shelters. In the Satya Yuga also trees were there, but people did not know that we can cut this tree and use it for building our shelters and so on. They did not do that. That's the reason trees were saved then. Whereas in the Treta Yuga, this mindset started developing, wherein the trees, now it is said that trees in Satya Yuga, they did not bear fruits at all. They were just normal trees with leaves. Whereas in the Treta Yuga, slowly the trees started bearing fruits. People developed this thought that okay, we can consume these fruits. They felt very happy that trees were giving them fruits. Ultimately, they realized the benefits and how useful trees were. They started cutting down trees, getting honey, this, that, whatever products we get from trees. They started building shelters. Now when they started building shelters made of wood, they were still, now where did they build their houses? Still the concept of villages and cities had not come. All this reference comes in the Vayu Purana. Those interested, you can read it for yourself. The same thing I'm just telling you. Why I'm telling you this is how it is related, how life evolved. In history we study, right, about the Stone Age man and so on. He was almost like an animal. Slowly he evolved, slowly he learned to write, slowly he learned to speak and so on. So that way life has evolved, and the same thing has been mentioned in our Puranas also. So the same reference I'm giving you. So in the Treta Yuga also, when they started building their habitation, that was very much close to natural surroundings only. That is maybe near rivers, maybe near mountains. That's the reason you see most of our villages or most of rural areas in India, you will always have a water body passing. It might not be a very big river, but you will always have some water body that is there. But you see in rural areas, people used to go to the nearby water body, river or so, lake, pond, well, and get water and so on. This is because in earlier times, people used to build their houses near water near water bodies, trees and so on, because for them it will be very easy for all domestic purposes to get water, cooking, washing and so on. Then slowly as times came about, then it seems that there were no seasons also. In fact, now how we have summer, rainy, winter, even the concept of seasons was not there in Satya Yuga and Treta Yuga. In the Treta Yuga, the concept of rain started. Now in Satya Yuga, there were no rains also, it seems. That is everything. All the rivers, the creation had been done in such a way that rivers were already full. And people used to use it to their own will and keep it away. So again, there was no question of rains falling continuously. Then you have, and even slowly, so as the seasons came in summer, rainy, winter, at the right time seasons used to take place, it seems. In the Treta Yuga again, during Rama's times, the concept of rains started. In the Dwapara Yuga, what happened is that seasons also started showing their extreme form. So in the Treta Satya Yuga, slowly the concept of, in fact it did not exist at all. Slowly towards the end of Satya Yuga, beginning of Treta Yuga, concept of seasons started, summer, winter and rainy. Then slowly rain started coming in Treta Yuga. People knew the benefits of rain. That's the reason why they started little agriculture. They started growing crops, food grains and so on. Then in the Dwapara Yuga, what happened is that seasons also started showing their wild form. That's the reason you must remember in Krishna's times in the Dwapara Yuga, we had the Govardhana mountain reference. Indra showed his power. Rain started continuously for 7 days. So that is the wrath of seasons. And ultimately in the Kali Yuga, it has been predicted that seasons will not take place at the right time. That's the reason now you see, even though it is a rainy season, we don't have rains. Even though it is summer season, it is extremely hot, right? It is summer, but summer is at its extreme or peak. If it is winter also, sometimes it is not cold, it is hot. Or sometimes it is extreme cold that is there. Or now, a very common example which all of us are witnessing is floods everywhere, right? Rains are taking place, but first of all, it doesn't rain at the right time. Shortage of water. It rains maybe when it is not the ideal rainy season, and it rains to such an extent that it leads to floods and mass destruction. So this happens in the Kali Yuga. So this is how life has evolved. There was a time wherein there was no concept of seasons at all. Everything was moving about good. So summer, it was very pleasant climate. That is it. It used to be normally hot, normally cold. Water used to be sufficient. That's all. Slowly Treta Yuga, seasons started coming in. Dwapara Yuga, again seasons started showing their wrath. But still, it was still bearable. Kali Yuga, ultimately, seasons do not follow their time at all. Extreme conditions it leads to, and at the same time untimely rains or seasons are not matched properly. That's the reason all through the year sometimes we feel hot, but sometimes it becomes extremely cold, but sometimes it leads to flood-like situation. So this is how life has evolved. Why I am giving you this example is, this is mentioned as per the yugas in the Vayu Purana, this reference you get. Rig Veda also, so the time in the Vedic period, this is how life has little it has evolved. So the first life period of people was in the Rig Veda, like Satya Yuga, people were very, very prosperous. They led a very prosperous life. Further, how the Rig Veda is divided, let us see. Now the hymns or the mantras in the Rig Veda, they are divided into 10 mandalas. So the segregation is into 10 mandalas, and there are about total 10 mandalas in the Rig Veda Samhita. Samhita is like a commentary, you can say. Mandalas 2 to 7 are the oldest part of the text, and first and 10 they are added later. So like I told you, in the course of time different portions are added. That way it has happened even here. Each mandala deals with a particular deity. Now when I say deity, always remember there are natural elements. It can be water, it can be sun, it can be trees and so on. Plus they are dedicated sages and their own family of students. That's the reason why each of us, when we say that you belong to a certain Veda, you must know to which Veda you belong. Why so? So that we know about our own ancestors, our own sages. I think in the last session also we had discussed, right? When you belong to the Yajurveda also, when you say your Abhivadanam, you say the name Trayarashayaha, Pancharashayaha, Saptarashayaha, whatever it is, it shows your ancestor of sages and they are students who are there. The same thing has been mentioned even in the Rig Veda. Next, all the mantras, they are all composed in different meters. Meters is nothing but Chanda. We have already seen little about Chanda Shastram. I had told you in one of the previous classes. Chanda Shastram is a meters. Now please note, Vedic meters are different. Gayatri, Trishtup, Anushtup, Brihati, Pankti and so on. They are Vedic meters. Other meters, that is meters that are used for the Vedas alone, and other general meters like Anushtup. Anushtup you can say in the Ramayana, Mahabharata, Gita and so on. Anushtup, Bhujanga, Shardula Vikridita. These are all different meters which are used in normal Sanskrit literature. So Vedic Sanskrit and the original, maybe the literary Sanskrit that we speak today or we use today, that is quite different. So there are differences. Vedic Sanskrit has got its own rules altogether. A very simple example, the Aksharam ಳ, Mangalam we say, right, or ಳ, especially we use it in all our other mother languages, all our own mother tongue. But ಳ, this letter is not there in Sanskrit, whereas it is there in Vedic Sanskrit. If you see in the Varnamala of Sanskrit, you don't have the letter ಳ. That's the reason in most of our Stotra Vangmayam and so on, we do not use the letter ಳ. Whereas in the Vedas, you have the letter ಳ. In fact, the first line of the Rig Veda, Agnimi Ile Purohitam, Agnimi Ile, first line, first word itself has got the letter ಳ. So this shows the difference. Sanskrit, literary Sanskrit that we learn today does not have the Aksharam ಳ, whereas in Vedic Sanskrit it does have it. So these are the changes that are seen. Further, so all the mantras are composed in meters. Now what was the purpose of composing mantras in meters is for having a very good tune that is there. So just because that is in a particular tune you have to chant the mantras, right? Then only it is pleasant to listen. You just start reading it as if you are reading a newspaper or so, nobody will like it, right? That's the reason when someone sings, like say for example a person like me sings, you will never like to listen, right? Whereas if a good singer tries to sing, only if it is pleasant to the ears, you like to listen, right? So therefore layam, ragam, or in the case of Vedas it is chandam, when in a particular tune also, not a tune you can consider, a particular swara that is there, mantras are to be chanted, it becomes very pleasant to listen. Now your own personal experience, I assume all of you would have listened to some Veda chanting that takes place of any Veda, be it Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharva Veda. You yourself can experience the vibes that are there, the positive vibrations that come in. It's very good. I hope everyone has listened to Vedic chanting, right? Is there anyone who has not listened to the Vedas, chanting of the Vedas?
Yeah, we have listened.
You have listened, right?
Yeah.
So this is something which most of some people you yourself would have chanted, or at least we would have come across people who are chanting. We ourselves do feel very happy. Maybe you don't know a word about it, maybe we don't know what they are speaking, what they are chanting, but still we feel very nice to sit and listen. So this itself, why it happens is because the mantras are chanted in a particular tune. Further, the different chandas are mentioned, Anushtup, Gayatri, Jagati, Trishtup, Ityadi. Then now each of the mandalas, they have got a particular sage that is there. 10 mandalas. Prathamam is Shatarchinaha. Now this is all just for your knowledge, the names. You need not sit and by heart all this, but at least people who belong to the Rig Vedas, you must know all this. Prathamam is Shatarchinaha. The first mandala, the sage is Shatarchinaha. Dvitiyam Garsamadam. Garsamadam. Third is Vaishwamitraha. Fourth Vamadeva. Panchamam Atreya. Shashtam Bharadwaja. That's the reason why most of the people who belong to Rig Veda, they all belong to the Bharadwaja Gotra. It is also for Yajur Veda, but especially for Rig Veda, it will be Bharadwaja Gotra. Anyone here who belongs to the Bharadwaja Gotra?
Yes, I do belong.
You belong. Okay, but is it Rig Veda or Yajur Veda?
It's Rig Veda.
Rig Veda. Yeah. Saptamam, Vasishta, Ashtamam, Matsya. Matsya Kandva. There are two. Navamam and Dashamam, you don't have one particular Rishi, there are various Rishis. So now Madhuraji, you must know that you belong to the 6th mandala. Shashtam mandalam is Bharadwaja.
Yeah.
Yes,
thanks.
Now Rig Veda Samhita, in all it consists about 1028 hymns. Now this number also, you can consider it a bit up and down. That is little roughly, because now again, now you see Rig Vedas, or now why always for our literature we say that you consider little up and down. For that a very logical reason is there. Reason being, most of our literature is passed on through oral tradition. So we didn't have the habit of recording something. So that's the reason why you say, right, nowadays when we have something, what is the proof, we ask. So then what we do, we audio record something, or maybe you give them some written proofs also. They say, no, you give me in writing. Why is that asked? Because whenever we speak something orally, the person can immediately, now if I say, you spoke this way, like this, so and so on that day, person will say, no, I didn't speak like that. We don't have any proof to prove at that time that the opposite person had spoken so and so. Today he is speaking in a different way. Whereas whenever something is there in writing, or you have some recording or so, it becomes easy. But unfortunately, what happened is all of our literature that is there, it has just been passed about through oral tradition. Nobody recorded it, nobody presented it. But still, thanks to some scholars also, in the later part, in the form of manuscripts and in the form of oral tradition. But at the same time, though we feel bad that things have not been recorded, still we must feel happy that you see the power of oral tradition. For years and centuries together, yugas together, this oral tradition has been passed on. Maybe for the last 100 years or so, you have the Vedas also that are available in books. Before that, everything was passed on through oral tradition, right? So oral tradition has to be so strong. Nowadays, even if you give books, still people don't use it, right? Even if everything is given in a written form or a recording form, how many of us actually use that? It just goes away, it is just waste. Today everything is available in the form of books, or you have also technology. How many of us actually use that? So you just imagine the power of something which is passed on through mere oral tradition without any recordings. So therefore, the difference, why I am telling you this is 1028 is most references believe in this, but there can be a few numbers up and down. There can be some later additions that are done, or maybe now because everything is passed on through oral tradition, it would be just manual counting, right? So they have been experts, like we cannot doubt at them, but still sometimes a few mantras can go up and down, and in all more than 10,000 mantras that are there. Further, the way of recitation. Now this is not limited to the Rig Vedas alone. We know that the Vedas, they have to be chanted in a certain way. Like I told you, not in the form of a prose order. At the same time, they have certain swaras or intonations that are there. Unlike other stotras or stotra vangmayam literature which is there, like the Gita and so on. Now Gita also, I may chant in a particular way, you may chant in a particular way, but still the tune remains one and the same. It will not be too different, but still we can chant the way we want, right? Or maybe music or so. Any way you want, you can sing. Of course, if you sing in a right tune, in a right raga, it is beneficial, it is pleasant to listen. But still, as you want, you can sing, there are no rules to that. But the Vedas, the way it has to be chanted, same way it has to be chanted. I cannot chant in a different way, you cannot chant in a different way, there are rules. So that is Parayana Paddhati, or here it is called Uchcharana Paddhati. That is a right way of pronunciation, right way of chanting. At the same time, voice modulation, Udatta, Anudatta, Swarita. Udatta, where it has to go down, Anudatta, where it has to go up, down, Swarita in a proper swara and so on. Those who learn the Vedas, you might be familiar with this. Udatta, Anudatta, Swarita. At the same time, voice modulation. Now, voice modulation is something which is again not limited to the Vedas alone. Even when normally when we are speaking, say for example, now when I am speaking, there should be voice modulation, right? Now sometimes I go up, sometimes I go down, sometimes I speak loud, sometimes maybe if I have to highlight or emphasize on something, I increase my voice, right? Maybe if I am speaking something which is not that important, maybe my voice is a bit low or so. So therefore, voice modulation is something which is very important. Some people have this habit of speaking very plainly. We can never listen to such people, it becomes very boring, right? So therefore, voice modulation is something which is very important. The Vedas, it is of utmost importance. And pronunciation rules you must keep in mind, because the wrong recitation can completely change the meaning of the mantra. Now, even not only the wrong recitation, even the swara also, if you chant wrong, it will change the meaning of the mantra altogether. Okay, I will also share a video, I think that is there for Vedic chanting, the right rules of Vedic chanting. I'll share that on the group, you can see that. In fact, not only for mantras, even if one word you change the matra here and there, it makes a difference. I'll give you a few examples. Vasudevaha, Vasudevaha. Vasudevaha, Krishna's father, Vasudevaha. Vasudevaha, Vasudeva's son, Vasudevaha. Till date, many people get confused here. Vasudeva, for Krishna also they will say Vasudeva. It is not Vasudeva. Vasudeva is Krishna's father. Vasudevasya putraha, Vasudevaha. So Vasudeva, Krishna's father. Vasudevaha, another name for Krishna. So that A, Va, Va, that Akaranta makes a difference. Second example, Krishnaha. Krishnaha, Lord Krishna. Krishna, another name for Draupadi. Though in now English and other languages we call out Krishna, 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 meaning the Lord. In Sanskrit actually Krishna, Krishna, when you are saying, it is another name for Draupadi, the wife of the 5 Pandavas. So Krishna is the right name. So Krishna, Krishna. So that A makes a difference. Krishna is Pullingam, masculine. Krishna, Strilingam, feminine. Of course, now when you chant with the same bhavam of the Lord, we say Krishna, Krishna, and we chant, that is different. But then you must know the difference, that in Sanskrit, even that A, E, and so on, it makes a difference. One more example, Bhavati, when we say. Bhavati, when it is small, the ti is small. Rasva, it means to be there. For example, Pustakam Bhavati, when I say, that means the book is there. Whereas when the ti becomes long, Bhavati, ti is dirgha, at that time we say Bhavati Bhikshandeyi. Bhavati, it becomes Strilingam, O woman. Bhavati meaning O woman or O Mahodaya. That is with respect we call out to elderly women also. Bhavati Bhikshandehi, meaning give me some bhiksha to eat. Shankaracharya asks for bhikshandehi, or all the boys during the Upanayana samskara, we have this Bhavati Bhikshandehi, we say. So the same Bhavati, the ti when it is small, it is a verb, it is a kriya padam, meaning something is there. Pustakam bhavati, vargam bhavati, bhojanam bhavati, food is there, book is there, class is there, and so on. Whereas the same bhavati, when the ti becomes long, it is strilingam, it is a noun, it is a pronoun that is there, wherein for a woman it is used, like she, it is used, bhavati bhikshandehi. So this is a difference. So through these examples you would have got an idea that pronunciation is very, very important. So whenever you chant these mantras or shlokas or anything in Sanskrit, even if you don't chant something, you're just writing something, we have to be very, very careful, because that e makes a difference and the meaning can change totally. Next, there are many deities that are worshipped in the Rig Vedas. Some deities are Agni, Varuna, Agni fire, Varuna water, Savitri sun god. Now Savitri is a Rikaranta Shabdam, it ends in R, but it actually is for Savita. People name their daughters as Savita, right? It is actually a Pullingam, it's a masculine word. It actually means for the sun god. For the sun god this word is used, but people who lack Sanskrit knowledge also, they don't know that Savitri is actually for the sun. They think that Savita ends in A, it's a feminine word. It's not at all so. Savitri is Savita, it means for the sun god. Brihaspati, the guru of gods. Vishnu, Lord Vishnu. Ashwina, the two divine doctors. Indra, Lord Indra, god of rain. Ushas or Usha, and Rudra and Soma. Usha is actually day dawn that we say. Rudra and Soma. So these were moon god and Lord Shiva himself. So these were all different deities who were worshipped. So you see mostly everything revolves around natural deities only. Then now there are total 5 branches of the Rig Veda. Shakala Shakha, Bashkala Shakha, Ashwalayana Shakha, Shankhayana Shakha, Mandukya Shakha, Mandukayana Shakha. So now in today's date only Shakala Shakha is available. Shakala. So you see in the course of time the 4 shakas that are there, we have lost all that. Why so it is lost? Maybe people stopped learning. Everything was passed on through oral tradition. More than that, the manuscripts were not available, so there were no recordings also. So you see how much we have already lost. We have only 1 shaka. This shaka also we don't preserve, we will lose this also. Tomorrow when our future generations will come and ask, especially people who belong to the Rig Veda, if you don't tell them that, they will say, what is this? What Rig Veda? The next question the child will ask you is, you're saying all this Rig Veda, that is fine. But then what is there in Rig Veda? You will say, no, everything is lost. Person will say, the child will say, then why should I follow or why should I even know about Rig Veda when nothing is available? So this should not happen. We must try our level best to pass on. Now you might have a question here, now not only for this Vedas, in general. You might feel that, okay, all this is there, knowledge is there, but does that mean that I should now give up everything and start reading these Vedas and so on? Be it on all this, whatever we are learning, all this Bharatiya Vidyas. It is not so, but at least like all of us in our path, we have already started. Most of you already know a lot of things. At least 1 hour once a week, including myself also, we are dedicating to learning something, right? So at least maybe if we don't delve very deep, nobody is telling you to master all the 4 Vedas or maybe all the Shastras that we know. But at least little things like this do exist. This at least we must know so that we keep it to ourselves. At the same time, we ourselves know about it. At the same time, you must tell it to 4 others also. You must pass it on further. Otherwise, it's of no use. We will lose a lot of our culture and tradition which has already happened. That's the reason why out of 5 branches, only one branch is remaining. At least we must not lose about this branch and do our duty of passing it on further. Further, the priest of the Rig Veda is called Hota. The one who does the Rig Veda sacrifices and so on, he is called the Hota. Next, second Veda is the Yajur Veda. It's got utmost importance. And why utmost importance? The reason being, it is mainly used for all the different rituals that we do, be it a marriage ceremony or Upanayana Samskara. Mainly it is, Yajur Veda contains mantras that are used for sacrifices and for all the different rituals that we do. That's the reason Yajur Veda has got a lot of importance, and that's the primary reason why most of us we belong to the Yajur Veda. And main subject is the different rituals, during different rituals, what are the different offerings that we do. Now, say you have a small puja at your house, you have a Shraddha Karma, certain mantras from Yajur Veda, certain Vedic mantras are chanted. Say for example, you have a marriage ceremony, certain mantras are chanted. Upanayana Samskara, there are a different set of mantras. Then you have your 60th birthday and so on, certain other mantras. You have a Ganesha Puja, there are different mantras. So like this, or the collection of mantras as per different rituals, that is a part of Yajur Veda. Yajur Veda has about more than 1800 verses, and they are all based on the mantras from Rig Veda. Now Yajur Veda, this word has come from the word Yajus, meaning to worship. Yajumsi Gadyani, meaning the verses or the mantras that are to be chanted. Main two groups, Shukla Yajur Veda and Krishna Yajur Veda. Shukla is white, Krishna is black. So mainly Shukla Yajur Veda is everything which is in a well arranged form of rituals. Krishna Yajur Veda, it is not that arranged. So basically it is like scattered here and there. And the priest is called Adhvaryu. Now if you see in India how the segregation is, most of North Indians, they belong to Shukla Yajur Veda. Most of South Indians, they belong to Krishna Yajur Veda. Mainly you can consider from central till down, they all belong to Krishna Yajur Veda. Central India till up part, they all belong to Shukla Yajur Veda. Now that is how the tradition has passed about. Of course, you cannot say fully, totally, okay, if you are a North Indian, you will be a Shukla Yajur Vedi, it is not like that. Or if you are a South Indian, you are a Krishna Yajur Vedi, it's not like that. But in general, you can see the segregation that takes place. That the reason people belonging to North India, they are all Shukla Yajur Vedis. People belonging to South India are all Krishna Yajur Vedis. So you can, those who have listened to this, Shukla Yajur Vedam and Krishna Yajur Vedam, the ways of chanting are also quite different. And the priest of Yajur Veda is called Adhvaryu. Now, the person, Yajnavalkya, he was the main one who had contributed a lot for Yajur Veda. So, of course, there are many other contributions of Yajnavalkya. That is, his main contribution is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. But then he has also contributed a lot for Yajur Veda. So, whenever you remember Yajur Veda, you listen to this word, Yajnavalkya, the sage, should come to your mind. So this is with regards to Yajur Veda. Next is Samaveda. Samaveda, different, all the chantings that are there, they are in a musical form, in a very melodious form. Sama, meaning songs or singing. Sama sa rik, meaning Sama, when you break it, sa rik, meaning the mantras of the Rig Veda, Rig, that is the Ruchas, which are sung in a musical way. So the mantras are again, the basis forms Rig Veda, but they are sung in a musical manner and by the 7 notes sung by Gandharvas. That's the reason why Gandharva Vidya, or you also have some institutes like Gandharva Samstha and so on. Some exams also which are given by the Gandharva Institute with regards to dance and music. That is because music, dance, especially music, it comes with, it is a part of Samaveda. Samaveda forms the basis or the origin of music. So, Richam Saha Sambandham Swara Pradhanam Gayanameva Sama. So, the Richas which are chanted but in a musical way, Gayanameva Sama, they are all Samaveda. It also has got roughly 1800 plus verses, and 75 verses out of this are taken from Rigveda Samhita. This text is divided into 4 parts. Agneya Parva, Aindra Parva, Pavamana Parva, Aranya Parva. These are all different sections that are there. It has got 3 branches: Kauthamiya Shaka, Ranayani Shaka, Ranayaniya Shaka and Jaiminiya Shaka, and they are all lyrical. Many of you, you will find that you belong to the Jaiminiya Shaka. Anyone who is a Samavedi here? No one?
My maternal side.
Maternal. So you belong to which Shaka?
I don't remember.
Kamala.
I don't even remember. At that time I never knew that there were 2.
Acha.
Otherwise I would have asked at least.
Yes. So if you have someone in your maternal side, maybe you can just ask them.
Yeah, I'll ask my brother then.
Yes. Mostly it should be the Jaiminiya Shaka. Some also belong to the Kautumiya Shaka. But we must know about this. Yeah. Now, and the priest of Samaveda is called Udgata. So there are people who belong to the Samaveda also. In fact, Samaveda has got its rituals also, which are quite different. In fact, Rigveda, Yajurveda, you have it somewhat similar. Rituals in the sense, I mean the certain rituals, like for example, even the Upakarma that we do. Few of you would have done it this week, right? The changing of the Upanayana that is there. Rigveda is done on the previous day. Yajurveda takes place immediately next day. Samaveda Upakarma is not so. It usually will be on the first day of Ganesh Chaturthi. I don't know when it comes this year. Usually it resembles around that time. So this is how you see. Sorry?
I want to ask, I didn't understand what is the meaning of priest of Samaveda.
Priest, that is those who do the sacrifices, those who belong to the Samaveda, they have different sacrifices and rituals, and the priest who does that, he is called Udgata. So there are now the priests that usually come to our houses. If you see, when you do a puja or so, if you are a Yajurvedi or so, the priest is called Udvari, as we saw. For Yajurveda, who is a priest? Advari, correct. And then for if you belong to the Samaveda Shaka, the priest who does the sacrifice and so on, he is called Udgata. So in those times, what used to happen is, in a kingdom also, especially in the Ramayana times, you will know that you have different, like for example, Dasharatha also, when he did the sacrifice, they used to do pujas and sacrifices, calling priests and people belonging to all the 4 Vedas. So at that time, what used to happen was, for every Veda, there used to be a chief priest. So for Rigveda, it used to be Hota, for Yajurveda, Advaryu, Samaveda, Udgata, and for Atharva Veda, it is Brahma. Brahma is not Lord Brahma, the priest is called as Brahma. So therefore, at that time it makes sense. Today's times it doesn't make sense because first of all, we don't do anything. More than doing maybe a small ritual like maybe a Shraddha or a small puja, something we do. We just call any priest who comes in and we tell him to do whatever he wants or whatever he knows, right? So that is what is done. So therefore, if you see, in earlier times, people belonged to all the 4 Vedas, and they used to, people did not belong, they used to call people belonging to all the 4 Vedas, and then the rituals used to be done. So at that time, each priest used to be called with these names. Okay. Next, you have Atharva Veda. Atharva Veda, it is a later addition to this text. If you see all our scriptures, including the Gita, including the Puranas, including the Ramayana also for that matter, gives reference only to 3 Vedas, Traya Vedaha, Trayaha Vedaha, Tisraha Vedaha. And because this treatise Atharva Veda is added quite late. According to Kautilya, that is Chanakya, who was the political advisor of the king Chandragupta Maurya, he says Dharva meaning violence or Himsa, Atharva meaning non-violence. So that's how this Veda gets its name. And other names are Brahma Veda, Angiro Veda, Atharva Angiraso Veda. Some also people say Atharvanga, right? Atharvana Veda and so on. Right name is Atharva Veda. It is basically the Veda of magical formulas, mainly it deals with magic or black magic, which was then practiced in a society. And it has been explained and it has originated also from the Atharva Veda. Now please note something that some scholars, of course, they say that it is not so, but then still there is a confusion because usually black magic and things like that, they're usually considered to be not so good or fraud and so on, but people who believe, they do believe, right? So therefore it used to be formed. So even the concept which we see around today, it might not be acceptable, but still such a concept does exist. Even today also, if you see black magic and so on, people do, right? Or even you believe in some practices and so on. So that also has got its origin. Whether it is acceptable, whether it is good, bad, evil and so on, that is secondary. But still it does exist, and some people owe its existence to Atharva Veda. And that's the reason why Atharva Veda is considered, or maybe its subject matter differs from the first 3 Vedas. That's the reason why it was not included in the category of the Vedas. Next, they are quite modern as compared to other texts. That's this, you have Sushruta Samhita and so on. The main reference for surgical medical treatments is also given in the Rig Veda, which we have already seen. But certain maybe ailments or surgery, medical and so on is mentioned in the Atharva Veda also. Then mainly remedies from medical herbs. Vriksha Ayurvedam. That is of different. We will see that also later in detail. The topic is still remaining. So remedies from medical herbs also in the forest. Sometimes when you walk about. Now this reference again you can find in the Ramayana. In some instances you will notice that when Sita walks about in the forest, thorns also prick her leg. So at that time what happens, you will always see Lakshmana. If you have ever seen a movie or a serial of Ramayana, you will notice that Lakshmana goes, he crushes a lot of herbs together, or even when Lakshmana falls unconscious, when Meghanatha puts the astra on him, at that time also Sushena, the royal doctor of Ravana, what he does is he uses Sanjeevani booty, he crushes that, and then he ensures that Lakshmana smells and he regains back his life. Or similarly, like I told you, when Sita pricks her leg, some thorn pricks her feet, at that time Lakshmana, he uses a few leaves or so, he crushes them, he makes a paste and puts it on that. So like this different things are done. Or even for Rama and Lakshmana also, when they have get a lot of injuries and wounds on their body after fighting with the enemies, they used to apply this you call it as lepa. Lepa is nothing but a paste or a covering that they used to apply on their body, so that the wound will heal. So that is, they had the knowledge of all these medical herbs that is there. Then different prayers for some purpose, like mainly to person to get a lover or a wife, for peace, then on nature, good, evil, and etc. So mainly now in general, if you see, now there are phalashrutis that are mentioned for everything, but then still we don't have certain, like you want a good wife, you pray. You want a good husband, you pray for so and so and so on. So such things are mentioned in the Atharva Veda. So this, sometimes some people, they feel that it is not matching with the original subject matter of the other three Vedas. That's the reason it was later added to the category of Vedas. In all, it also contains about 730 hymns, 6000 mantras. It is divided into 20 books. About 6 texts are based on Rig Veda. Here also you have about 2 branches that are there. Pippalada Shaka, Shaunakakhya Shaka. Now there are people who also belong to the Atharva Shaka, Atharva Veda, and especially if you see in the Sringeri Parampara, Sringeri Karnataka, in the Sringeri Shankara Matha, established by Shankaracharya, where you have the Chaturveda Paranam. At that time you have a priest, especially during the, now you can see the Navratri times that come in their Navratri Darbar, you will have the priest who chants mantras in the Atharva Veda. In fact, I think in all the Pithas that are established by Shankaracharya, you have people who belong to the Atharva Veda also, and you will find them chanting mantras from the Atharva Veda. So it's not that people do not belong to the Atharva Veda. Yes, they do belong, but the number might be quite less. But yes, you have people till date who belong, and they do chant mantras even from the Atharva Veda. And the priest of Atharva Veda is called Brahma. Please note, it is not Lord Brahma, it is a different, the person is called Brahma. Okay. Now, these were the 4 Vedas. Okay. Till here, has everyone followed? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Later, if I ask you questions, everyone should be able to answer. You should not just not say yes, yes. Okay. Yeah. Let's continue. Now, next. Does this end here? That is, after the 4 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. Does Vedic literature end here? No. There are many more. These are the 4 pillars, the main pillars or the main parts of the Vedic literature. Rig Veda is the oldest, but further it is divided. That is Samhita. Samhita, now each of these Vedas have got Samhita. Samhita is formed from the word Sam plus Dha, meaning to put together, or you can say to come together. So that's a total collection, Samhitas. It is, you can consider like commentaries also. Next you have Brahmana Granthas, then Aranyakas and Upanishads. Now what is the main difference that is there between all these 4? Samhita, together when we see, Samhita meaning literally I told you put together, but basically it is a collection or a text of mantras. Usually you can see, like, now Samhita can be for anything. Say for example, Vyakarana Samhita. If I say for example, Vyakarana is nothing but grammar. So Vyakarana Samhita meaning all the information that you need with regards to Vyakarana, grammar will be present there. So it will be like just a collection of things that are there with regards to Vyakarana. So everything that is put together. Grammar is a topic. All the information that you know about grammar, that will be put there. So this is Samhita. Next is you have Brahmanas. So Brahmanas usually you can consider more like a commentary also. Now, Rigveda Samhita, most popular mantra you have is the Gayatri mantra. Gayatri mantra comes in the Rigveda Samhita. And then you have about I think few mantras in the Samaveda Samhita, like especially mantras for a king when he is fighting in a battle or so, or when he is riding a chariot. Such mantras come in the Samaveda Samhita. Yajurveda Samhita has got a lot of mantras that are there. For example, Taitiriya Samhita is the most popular one. Apastamba mantra, Katha Samhita, Kapisthala Samhita, and so on fall a part of Yajurveda. And this is just for your knowledge. All this is a part of Krishna Yajurveda. Apastamba. Most of you we say, right? Apastamba Sutraha, Yajushakha. Apastamba Sutra is a Yajurveda Samhita. It is a part of that. Taitiriya Samhita you have. That is also very popular. Taitiriya Upanishad. That is there. The 4 Upanishads that we chant. Shikshavali, Anandavali, Briguvali, and Mahanarayana Upanishad. That's a part of Taitiriya Samhita. Taitiriya, usually the first 3. Shikshavali, Anandavali, Briguvali, and Mahanarayana Upanishad is also chanted as a part of that. Then even in Atharva Veda Samhita also, you have certain mantras. In fact, it is said that Atharva Veda Samhita, you have wherein a woman, she prays to Lord Agni, it seems, for getting a good husband. So that mantra, so that's the reason why when we saw about Atharva Veda, you see, right, to gain a lover or to get a good wife and husband, that mantras are mentioned here. It seems that once a woman, she prayed to Agni Bhagwan, that forms a part of Atharva Veda Samhita. Now there are many other Samhitas also that are there. So it is basically, you can say, in a very systematic way, the mantras are mentioned and it leads to that particular topic only. Say for example, I told you Vyakarana Samhita, you will have knowledge only about Vyakarana, information about grammar and Vyakarana there, nothing else. So it becomes very easy for us. Okay, I want to know about grammar, I will open Vyakarana Samhita and see. So a very systematic way of presenting information, that is Samhita. Then you have, in fact, Charaka Samhita, Sushruta Samhita and so on, they are all also Samhitas that are there. You also have the this Ashtavakra Gita, those are familiar with that. A type of Gita, there are many Gitas. We know only Bhagavad Gita, Rudra Gita, Devi Gita and so on. You have Gitas for each of the gods mostly. You also have a very famous Gita. Even Pandava Gita is one of that. Pandava Gita comes in the Mahabharata. And a very famous other Gita is called Ashtavakra Gita, that also forms a part of Samhita. Next is the second category that is there is Brahmana. Now what is Brahmana? Brahmana, now first level is Samhita. Next is Brahmana. Now Brahmana here what happened is they talk little about you can say lot of theology description. Now what is theology? Mainly like maybe they talk about a lot of concepts like astronomy or geography or geometry. So basically sciences, study of sciences. It will not just deal with mantras or religious mantras and praise of some god also. Brahmanas usually they are like a theory which is presented. How some of us who do PhD also you present those research papers, right? So that is all the information that you know is presented there. So basically like a theory you can consider, that is Brahmana Granthas. So mainly if a sacrifice has to be done, it will not talk about the god who has to be praised there or what exactly are the mantras. It will talk about the instructions, how a particular sacrifice has to be done. Or maybe if it talks about astronomy, what exactly is astronomy, what are the rules for that, what is a study and so on. Or in geometry, so you can consider Brahmanas to be like rule based. Now you see geometry is full of theorems and rules, right, formulas. So that forms a part of Brahmanas. Some Brahmanas are Aitareya Brahmanam, Shatapada Brahmanam, Taitiriya Brahmanam, Jaiminiya Brahmana, Gopata Brahmana, Shakhayana Brahmana and so on. So all the 4 Vedas, you see most of these names, they resemble the different branches of the Vedas. Next is the next category. So these are all a part of Vedic literature. The 4 main Vedas, Rig, Yajur, Sama, Atharva. Next comes Samhita, which is a systematic presentation of knowledge, different mantras, everything is included. Second layer is Brahmanas, so it is a bit theory in nature. Third is Aranyakas. Aranyakas, it seems that, now Aranya meaning forest. So in earlier times these mantras used to be learnt in the forest only. So basically their level of difficulty was also quite difficult. The level of difficulty was quite high, and they were to be meant to be learnt in the forest only. That's how they get the name of Aranyakas. And it talks, now why this is it was so is because they talk about high level of philosophy, it seems, like meditation and so on. So basically it will, like, why now if I say that you have to worship God, right? Someone will come from behind and ask, why should you worship God? So you will tell, no, the God will bless you, and so on, right? So then next the person will ask, how will the God come and bless me? Can you see God? You will say, no, I don't know God, I have not seen him. Then the next question the person will ask, if you have not seen God, why are you worshipping him? You have never seen God, your father has never seen God, your grandfather has never seen God, how are you worshipping? Then comes a concept that you say, no, we don't have to see God always, but we can always experience some divine power, this, that we say, right? So what is that experience? You cannot see something in front of you, you cannot show some proof in front of you, but then some experience, how you can make the person understand. Now there is no hard and fast rule to make people understand, but I'm just giving you an example. There are many things which are not available to us in a physical form. Like there are, now say for example, I say, I'm very happy today. Maybe looking at my face, looking at my expressions, you can make out that I'm happy, right? Apart from that, I cannot show you happiness, right? Can I show? No, this is happiness. See how nice it looks. I cannot show that. Or maybe I feel that if, or love, concepts like love, different emotions, feelings, bhakti, faith, shraddha, God, and so on. There are many things in this world which I cannot show you. Maybe in my body language, way of expression, you can make out. More than that, there are things. If I say love, what is the concept of love? Maybe I speak to you very nicely, maybe I give you whatever you wish, maybe I'm very affectionate towards you, you say, oh, this person is very loving. Whereas if I always shout at you, I hate you, I always try to bring you down, you see, you will tell that this person hates me, she is very angry, she's showing her hatred and so on, right? Apart from that, I cannot show you something in physical to express these emotions. So in the case of God also, or philosophy and so on, there are many things which we cannot see. We do some sacrifice, but for what you are doing the sacrifice, what is the purpose behind that, that is explained in Aranyakas. So different meditative techniques. So now you get the answer why these texts are to be learnt in the forest. You cannot sit at your house very nicely and do meditation. So much of distractions, 10 times people call us. Now for people like us, even in the forest also it might be difficult. Every time we'll be afraid someone will come and attack us. But then in older times, forest was a place which is very peaceful. Very simple example, today's times you have those specific yoga centers, or maybe some of you might be going, what do you call that, vipassana, right? What does that say? Anyone has gone to such places, so called vipassana centers and so on, wherein for a few days or so you have like a camp. Anyone has visited such places for yoga? Yes. So there you can feel the difference, right? What you do there at a particular center, maybe you go to a yoga center or those vipassana kendras, they're nothing but they teach you, maybe they have some diet restrictions that they tell you, very simple sattvic food, and at the same time maybe some yoga practices, pranayama practices, maybe lectures or so with regards to Vedas and so on, or the yoga shastra. At that time, in that particular place, the experience is totally different. Same thing we cannot do at home. Or maybe you go to a temple also, the experience is altogether different, right? The same God, say for example, you go to a Vishnu temple. Same Vishnu's image is there at my house also. But the same worship, when you go and see in a temple, you do the worship in a temple, the feelings are totally different, right? Or the experience will be different. So the same thing, these Aranyakas also, to know the right meaning of Aranyakas, to study them properly, it had to be done in the forest. So the names of some texts, Aitareya Aranyakam, Shakhayana Aranyakam, and Taitiriya Aranyakam. So these were the Aranyakas. Last is Upanishadas. Upanisada. That is like the last part of the Vedas. It is also called Veda. Vedanta. Vedasya antaha Vedantaha. This you can consider the most, rather than saying most difficult part, it can be like a very secret knowledge that is there, which is not very easily told to everyone. So it is like total surrender to your Guru, and that which is learned by sitting very close to the Guru. That is, you cannot say that I'll learn it by myself or maybe from any place. No, you have to sit very much near to your Guru, and it's like a secret knowledge which is conveyed. That is Vedanta. So mainly Vedanta, people say, right, I'm studying Vedanta, they say. Upanishads are nothing but Vedantas. So the highest knowledge is called Tattva Jnana. Tattva is nothing but philosophy. We say, right, you must know the Tattva behind everything. Tattva is nothing but what exactly that is. That is very, very important. So being that, Tattvamasi, I am this or I am that, we say, right? So that is this Tattva Jnana, Tattvamasi, and knowledge that is acquired from a Guru, very deep thinking. Or you can consider the most highest stage of knowledge is Upanishada. There are about There are many Upanishads. Out of that, 108 are considered to be primary and chief. Out of that also, only 10 Upanishads are very much available to us. Rather than saying available, out of that 108 also, 10 are considered to be of prime importance. I hope everyone knows the names of the 10 Upanishads. Yes or no?
No.
No.
No. No.
Very nicely, everyone is telling no. You must not, you must remember. Isha kena kata prashna munda mandukya taitiri aitareyam cha chandogyam brihadaranyakam tatha. Learn this verse by heart. Never ever you will tell and never know the names of the 10 Upanishads. Isha, Ishavasya Upanishad. Kena, Kenopanishad. Katha, Kathopanishad. Isha kena kata prashna, prashna, Prashnopanishad. Munda, Mundakopanishad. Munda Mandu, Mandukopanishad. Taitiri, Taitiryopanishad. Aitareyam, Aitareyopanishad. Chandogyam, Chandogyopanishad. Brihadaranyakam, Brihadaranyakoupanishad. Tatha. I will share this verse on the group. Get it by hearted. Next time you should know the names of the 10 Upanishads. Let us not study the Upanishads. We must at least know the names, right? You must know the names of the 4 Vedas. You must know the names of the 18 Puranas. 18 Puranas, I hope you know. Anyone knows? We have learned. That verse also I will share.
Yeah, please share the names also on the group.
This, one second. Before that, Puranas we have already seen. I had shared the text also which is there. You should know it by heart. For that also there is a verse. Madvayam chaiva bratrayam vachatuštayam anapa linga kuskani puranani prachakshate. The initials. I think I had recited this verse in the class also. Everyone has forgotten. Okay, anyways. It is there in the group also I have shared. I will share the verse for both these, for knowing the 10 Upanishads and the 18 Puranas. There are verses that are composed so that you can learn that by heart. So when you learn the words by heart, you will automatically, that is the initials of every Puranas and names of every Upanishad. So it becomes easy to remember the names of all. So this is the least that we can do, right? So we must know it. It is a part of our own culture. That too, when we are learning it, you must know the names at least. Forget about studying it in detail. At least the names we must know in detail. Okay. So Upanishads are considered to be the last part of the Vedas or Vedanta as you call. So it is the highest type of knowledge, kind of knowledge. And there are many other Upanishads also. In fact, the Gita also is considered to be a Upanishad. Sarvopanishado gavo dogda gopalanandanaha partho vatsa sudhir bhokta dugdham geetamritam mahat. Here Krishna, this shloka comes in the Dhyanam as well as in the Mahatmyam also of the Gita. Sarva Upanishadaha gavaha. All the Upanishads are like cows. Dogdha gopalanandanaha. Dogdha, the cowherd or the milkman, is Gopalanandanaha, Lord Krishna himself. Parthaha vatsaha. Arjuna is a calf who is drinking the milk. Krishna is the one who is milking the cows. Partha is the calf who is drinking the milk. Partho vatsa sudhir bhokta. Sudhi is this nectar in the form of milk who is consuming bhokta. Dugdham geetamritam mahat. And the milk that comes out is nectar which is coming out in the form of Gita. Geetamritam. Gita amritam. So all the Upanishads are like cows. The knowledge from all the Upanishads is being churning out in the form of milk by Krishna. And who's consuming that? Partha. Lord Arjuna is consuming that milk in the form of 18 chapters, 700 verses. That's the reason why the Gita is said to be a condensation or an essence of the Upanishads. So even though you don't know all the Upanishads, you must at least study the Gita. In about 700 verses, the essence of all the Upanishads has been told there. Krishna himself signifies this in the Gita Mahatmyam and Gita Dhyanam. Okay, so these are all different things that are being told in praise of the Gita. That's the reason after every chapter of the Gita you have, right? Tatsariti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Su Upanishatsu. The Gita, which is considered to be an Upanishad, is almost equal to an Upanishad. Only thing is its length is not that big, but then the significance of the study is it's so much in depth that it contains all the essence of all the Upanishads. Further, this verse is there only, it is there, very nice. Knowledge of Tattvajnana is there in Upanishads. These texts come at the end of Vedic literature, hence it is called Vedantaha. Study of Brahma Tattvam, that is ultimate. This I have already shared on the group, you can learn this verse now. Isha kena katha prashna munda mandu kyadittiri aitareyam cha chandogyam brihadaranyakam tatha. 10 verses, 10 important Upanishads that are told. Okay. So today time is up. Let us stop here. With this, we also complete the topic of Vedic literature. I hope everyone has got a good idea now. We are just introduced. That's it. There is many. Now only you would have seen so many divisions, so many branches, so many samhitas, brahmanas, aranyakas, upanishads. So much to learn. At least 1% if we learn out of this, that is more than enough. Next topic that we start will be Dhanurvedam, which we start next time.